Well, today we'll talk about discipline. All right, everybody's already tense and stressed. Discipline. For many of us, it is a bad word, but it really is not a bad word. Now, what comes to mind often can be something that's not very popular, like a physical correction if you grew up in an age where parents still provided some back end improvement, entitled you to dance with the waltz of discipline. You didn't like the spanking, so to speak, or you didn't like the timeouts that were given, or the loss of privileges. But when we look at that, that's one aspect that's not popular. But when we're talking about self-discipline, and that's really what this is more about, that's just as unpopular as having some kind of consequence that we have to endure for our actions or lack thereof. So again, personal discipline, you know what? I don't know about you, but there's days I don't like to discipline myself. And we all, I think, encounter that. Problem is, the more days and the more often that we don't bring self-discipline into our life, the more likely it's going to be that we're not going to succeed in a lot of the areas that we may want to succeed in. So again, I don't want you to think about this just as punishment. This isn't punishment, okay? Get that. It's not about being blamed or taking consequences for actions or the lack thereof. It's about what we do with our own being, our own lifestyle, our own worth ethic. That's a discipline that we're talking about. But now that's been said, I can't say there won't be any pain in self-discipline. We can, if you practice sports, if you're exercising, there might be some discomfort when it comes to personal discipline. And when that happens, many of us want to maybe stop. And we may need to readjust, especially in physical activity, to minimize the amount of discomfort that will come about in our physical body. But we can help alleviate that is if we're willing to stay the course. There's a reward for those of us that will work at it and have a coach or somebody helps keep you accountable. And while I'm showing physical right now, this is about also skill sets and mental and emotional discipline as well. So take this and look at it this way, that I'm using a physical to explain more complex at the same time. So don't just get hung up on that this is physical only or an activity. But my granddaughter loves soccer, and she didn't like practice at first. It wasn't fun. She wanted to play. Of course, we all want to play. But getting good, that's a different problem. That's a different thing. Now, some of us have natural abilities in the things that we want to do. We're just gifted and we've got it. So it may be easier. But to fine-tune and excel, well, that's even tougher for people who are gifted, because often they don't want to take the time and go through those basic challenges. I got there on the scale, and I looked at my weight a couple of years back, and it was like, I am not winning the battle here. I had the perfect job. At least I thought it would be the perfect job. I wanted to be a food consultant. Look, desire is one thing, but putting our effort into making sure that we're going to stay obedient to the disciplines, that is a missing factor for almost all of us at one point or at other times. When I got out of high school, I was working. And I'd worked until about midnight or so, and I quit having physical exercise from sports and the stuff that was in high school. So I decided that, I would come home in the evening after work and I would do some push-ups and set-ups, and then I'd lift up my weights and I'd do my weights. And I came in one night tired and I looked at the weights and I just laid down on my bed and I thought, I'll do that tomorrow. Well, 40 some years later, tomorrow's never arrived. I've lost that regiment just on the one time. So yes, it's easy. But choosing the right kind of diet is going to be important. So that's a discipline. And I tell you what, I really struggled with it, but I'm glad that my wife helped me and I had some coaching and some encouragement. If you don't have the strength when you first start to discipline yourself, that's pretty common. It's just like lifting weights. You may not be able to lift a lot or what you would like to lift. And so just like anything else, discipline, you may not be able to do it right from the get-go. It may not be something that's achievable at the moment. So you want to work it out. You want to put together the emotional, the mental, the energy, the effort into starting off taking reasonable steps that are something you can accomplish without that major trauma to your body or to your lifestyle or whatever else, depending on the type of goal you have for your discipline. So as we begin working on it, if I'm trying to lose weight, there's going to be some discouragement in the process. I've tried many different diets over the years. I have one thing. The word die is in the word diet. Yeah. But once I found the right type of lifestyle change of eating, I was able to trim off over 50 pounds. And that dropped the diabetic condition and all the other stuff that was trying to take and ruin my life, because I didn't really have a lot of good discipline at one point. So when we first start off trying to achieve the goal, whatever it might be, it may be difficult, it may require specialized coaching, it may require us to reframe the way we think, the way we respond, it may require us to take and do some kind of learning, and maybe there's going to be some sacrifices, and usually there is some kind of sacrifice, but in order to achieve that goal, you're maybe going to have to build up for it. So don't get discouraged that your goal's not there immediately. I'd like to be a better golfer. I don't hit and break the club so much, but I have a wicked slice. I mean, when I'm on the course, it's every person take cover. I make Gerald Ford look good. Anybody doesn't know the former president Gerald Ford, and he wasn't the best. He has some wild swings, but I don't spend any time on the course. I don't spend time practicing. So when I do occasionally go out, it's still just as bad as it's always been, and maybe even worse. So it's not anyone's fault but my own for not becoming a better dedicated golfer. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to spend some money for, taking and playing on the golf course, more than likely. I'm going to have to take and probably get somebody that knows how to coach a guy like me to become better at playing the long game. I'm not too bad in the short putt-putt game, but I could still improve. I mean, I got better at that because we used to do mini golf. Something you do more often, more likely you're going to improve on. But since this isn't a great desire and it's not necessary for my life, I've reprioritized, and I just don't know if I'll ever get around there. So who can I blame for my lack of my skills? Most of us don't want to take personal responsibility. We want to put the blame on everybody else. And, shifting the blame is never going to solve the problem. I talk about blame assessment and I talk about scrutinization of situations, and everybody runs for cover because nobody likes blame. So don't take it as so much blame, but take it as an actual understanding of why it's not happening. Take accountability for your lack of success when it's because we're not doing what we need to do. So if I really do have somebody to blame, how do I deal with that? Sometimes it's very tough to get ahead in a competitive job market or at work or at different things. And you may have a lot of different other challenges. Now, that might not be somebody else's fault. That might not even be yours. It just might be that you don't have realistic approach to getting better at self-discipline and something. But as you begin in little things and accomplish little victories, you can start seeing that you can take more accountability of your own course of success in life. The world really teaches us, we blame our parents, we blame teachers, it's my race, it's their circumstances, it's other people, it's their circumstances, so on and so forth. There's a plethora of people or entities to blame for situations. And yet we find people who've had equal, if not worse, circumstances who have achieved the success that they wanted because they put that self-discipline into the mantra of their life and into their motivation and into the mobility to move forward instead of staying back. Yeah, there's going to be obstacles. I don't know about you. It would be great to walk out there on the golf course, set the tee and the ball, and hole in one. Yeah, that would be great. And that can happen. Not very regularly. And even for the best of pros, not very regularly. But more often than not, if you're out there on the golf course, it might happen by chance, right? Yes, there's going to be some obstacles. And so they can overcome you, or you can find ways to overcome. We've done workshops on overcoming roadblocks, barriers, and obstacles. And it's interesting how people, when they start thinking about it, different things that we would throw out. Okay, you've got this. How would you get around that? Some adapted and just said, okay, I'm going to, and others came up with some pretty inventive ideas. So remember, there's always going to be competition. And somebody may be a little stronger, a little faster, a little bit more self-disciplined. You may have some kind of handicap with, like, maybe a sprained knee. You're not going to be able to get over the hurdle as easy. But that shouldn't stop you from trying to find the best way of approaching life and the competitions and the obstacles, but without self-discipline. And the first and foremost is got to be in the head game. When SEALs go for training, it's not the really strong guys or real physical, fit people that make it. Often those guys don't. It's the person who has a mindset, self-discipline of the mind. As one SEAL puts it, there's going to be mental turbulence. And that's just going to be there. And you're going to have to decide that is something you want to discipline your emotion and your mind around so that it doesn't beset you. I want to thank you for taking the time to go through this fairly lengthy compared to some of the short ones that we have. But we want to encourage you. Disciplining has a whole lot of good outcome when we're willing to take it. Hey, this is Doc Dan. Have a great day. Put together your plan and strategy for the discipline and what you need to do to overcome the obstacles in your life, and get the mental mindset that this is important and you can do it if you're willing to go for the long haul.